Okay, what if you could actually turn back the clock on your own aging? And I'm not talking about science fiction. I'm talking about real science. Today, we're going to dive into the personal routine of a Harvard genetics professor who claims his biological age, well, it's now better than a 20-year-old's.
So, this is Dr. David Sinclair. On the left, that's him back at age 44. And on the right, that's him at 54. I mean, take a look. To a lot of people, he genuinely looks younger now than he did a whole decade ago. But this isn't just about how you look on the outside.
And this is where it gets really wild. He's not just talking about appearances. He's talking about hard data, his own blood biochemistry. We're talking about the markers for things like inflammation, testosterone, glucose, you name it. He says that by changing his lifestyle, he's watched these numbers get better and better, to the point where they actually surpass the average 20-year-old. So how on earth did he do it?
Well, the big secret, the fundamental principle behind his entire approach is actually surprisingly simple. It's all about harnessing the power of good stress. I know, it sounds a little backwards, right? But the idea is that by putting our bodies under the right kind of strain, we can actually turn on these powerful, built-in defense mechanisms that fight aging. So how do you apply this good stress? Let's start with exercise. Now, Dr. Sinclair's advice isn't about spending hours and hours at the gym. Nope, it all boils down to one simple, powerful rule. Get out of breath. The goal is to be moving so fast, so intensely, that you can't easily hold a conversation. And the best part? You can totally do this. We're just talking about 10 minutes of intense, I can't really talk right now activity, just 3 times a week. This short burst of intensity creates a state called hypoxia, which is just a fancy word for low oxygen, and that acts like a powerful signal to your body. Your body responds by building better blood flow, creating more muscle, and it even releases chemicals that can slow down aging. The potential payoff here is huge. We're talking about lowering your rates of disease by as much as 30%. But, as powerful as that exercise is, he says it's not even the single most important habit for longevity. So, what is? The answer is 3 simple words. Eat less often. His argument is that it's not just what we eat, it's when we eat that really matters. You know how we're all taught to eat 3 square meals a day plus snacks? He basically says that constant eating is what's accelerating the aging process. The real magic, he says, happens in the periods when we're not eating. Okay, the science behind this is so cool. When you're not eating, your body kicks on this process called autophagy. Think of it like your body's own deep cleaning and recycling crew. It goes around and clears out all the old, junky, damaged parts of your cells. This whole process is switched on by special longevity genes, and they only get activated when your energy from food is low.
All right, so if you're thinking, okay, I might want to try this, here's the game plan. You aim for about a 16-hour fasting window. The real key is to stay hydrated all day. Water, tea, coffee, that's all great. It really helps curb any hunger pangs. And you've got to be patient. Give your body about 2 or 3 weeks to really adapt. During that time, something amazing happens. Your liver actually learns how to produce its own steady, stable supply of glucose.
Okay, so we've covered stressing our bodies with a bit of exercise and fasting. Now this next piece of the puzzle is kind of wild. It applies that same logic to our food. The whole concept is called xenohormesis, and it's all about eating plants that have been under a little stress themselves. And this quote right here just nails it. When plants get stressed out, from things like too much sun or not enough water, they produce these amazing protective molecules called polyphenols. So the theory of xenohormesis is pretty simple. When we eat those stressed plants, we absorb those beneficial molecules, and they, in turn, activate our own body's defense systems. Pretty clever, right? So what does this actually look like on your shopping list? Easy. Think vibrant colors. Dr. Sinclair drinks matcha green tea, which is absolutely packed with a polyphenol called ECGC. He eats lots of leafy greens, like spinach, uses olive oil, and just generally focuses on really colorful vegetables. The reds, the purples, the dark greens. The logic is that those deep colors are often a sign that those protective, stress-induced compounds are present. All right, now for the part I know a lot of you are curious about, supplements. But first, and this is super important, we have to be really clear. Dr. Sinclair does not recommend or sell any supplements. This is just a report of what he personally takes. It's not a prescription or recommendation for anyone else, okay? So he takes 3 main things. First up is resveratrol. That's the famous compound found in grapes that's believed to activate those longevity genes. Second is something called NMN. It's basically a form of vitamin B3, and it boosts a critical molecule in our bodies called NAD, which unfortunately declines as we get older. And third is metformin.
Now, this one's a little different. It's actually a prescription drug for type 2 diabetes, and using it for longevity is definitely more controversial.
Okay, so we've talked about what to add, but what did he cut out? Because what you take away from your diet can be just as important, if not more so. Let's look at the 4 main things he avoids.
This visual tells the whole story, doesn't it? If you have toast for breakfast, you get that big sugar spike. And yeah, it feels good for a minute, but it's always followed by that crash, which leaves you hungry and dealing with brain fog. Now compare that to the steady, stable energy your own liver produces when you're fasting. Dr. Sinclair says he has never been so focused in his life since he made that switch.
So he has this great way of putting it. He describes eating sugar as an unintelligent process. It's just driven by our eyes and our mouth, and it leads to those chaotic spikes and crashes. But when your liver makes its own sugar, well, that's smart. It's a perfectly tuned system that creates a steady, stable supply, keeping you focused and energized all day. So, to wrap it all up, here are the 4 things he avoids. Number 1, sugar and fruit juice, which he literally calls a big killer. Number 2, bread and other simple carbs, for all those reasons we just saw. Number 3, most meat. He says the science points to plant protein having a much better amino acid ratio for turning on our longevity genes. And finally, number 4, most dairy. He actually cut it out just as an experiment and found that his health markers improved even more.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here, from exercise to fasting all the way to stressed out plants. The whole point isn't to do everything all at once, because that's just overwhelming. But it does leave us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. Looking at all these different ideas, what's the one small change that feels like the easiest, most achievable thing for you to start with?